Good morning. My name is April. I'm a junior here at Carleton, and today I have the pleasure of introducing our Convocation speaker, Gaelynn Lea. She's a violinist, singer, songwriter, disability rights advocate, and public speaker. Her music takes an experimental approach to traditional fiddle music, incorporating a unique violin performance style and folk and rock influences alongside haunting lyrics. I personally love the 2020 release, The Living Room Sessions, improvised solo using a lead pedal to lay her violin front its gorgeous. In 2016, she won NPR's TEDx contest, and she's opened for acts like Wilco, collaborated with fellow Minnesota natives, and Low. She also recently composed songs for a new Broadway performance of Macbeth. Gaelynn helped found the group Recording Artists and Music Professionals with Disabilities, or GRANT, an organization that connects and advocates for artists with disability in the music industry. They recently worked to make the 2022 Grammys more accessible to everyone and continue to promote representation and access for all artists. Gaelynn uses the platform to bring attention to these issues through the recordings, performances, as well as public speaking. She makes beautiful music and does incredible work to advocate for others. I'm so excited that we get to hear from her today. Please welcome to Carleton College, Gaelynn Lea.
Coming today, and before I get started, I just want to say thank you for wearing masks. I am high-risk, and I really wanted to get back on the road, and I was trying to figure out a way to make it work, and so I appreciate your willingness to do that today. And also, let's give a round of applause to Carleton for getting the ramp and the hands-on interpretation for today. My name is Gaelynn Lea. I'm going to start with a quick visual description in case anyone in the audience can't see me clearly. I am a small white woman in an electric wheelchair. I have bendy arms, and that's what I call them. That's probably not appropriate. They're at like 90-degree angles, and I sit in an electric wheelchair. I've got my violin on the ground by me and a looping pedal on the floor. And I'm wearing a white flowery dress and a pink flower in my dark brown hair. So, here we are, and I'm very excited to talk to you today. And when they asked me what I wanted to speak about, this isn't a music industry conference, so I wanted to do something a little bit different, because how many of you are actually students here? Raise your hand. Okay, and then how many of you are community members, faculty and staff? Okay, cool, so it's a nice mix today, and I wanted to just kind of talk about something I'm very passionate about, which is disability culture. So the title of this talk is Amplify, Celebrating Disability Culture. But first I thought I'd introduce myself a little bit and some of my work, and then we can get into the topic today. So I was born with a disability called osteogenesis imperfecta. It means brittle bones disease, like the layman's term. And it is a disability that affects the collagen in your bones, so they break easier, and I broke a lot of them before I was born, which is why my limbs, my legs and my arms are bent. And so it's not painful obviously at this point, but it's something that I've always had my whole life. I got my first wheelchair when I was 2 and a half, my first electric wheelchair, so I destroyed every doorway in our house at a very young age as I was learning how to drive. But I've always had mobility, and I had very, very supportive parents, and I think that that's a huge thing for people with disabilities, to have parents that encourage them and not provide additional barriers. So my parents were always eager to let me explore and try new things. Their motto was sort of, if you really want to do it, you'll figure out a way. And so when I have 3 siblings, and none of them have disabilities, but they were also very inclusive, I guess is the right word. So my older brother especially always wanted me to be able to do what my younger siblings did. And so, for example, when I was young, he wanted us all to go on a bike ride together. So he put me on the newspaper rack of his bicycle and tied me up with twine so that we could all go together. We got in a lot of trouble stressful for that particular instance, but that was sort of his idea, is to try to make sure that I could do everything with my siblings. And so I had a really fun childhood, and in 4th grade, an orchestra came to play for my school. And I just fell in love with the way the strings sounded, especially together. That ensemble sound of strings just kind of gave me goosebumps. And I knew that I wanted to try to play the next year. And I guess I went home that night and I told my mom, I really want to play the cello, but if cello doesn't work, I think I'll be able to play violin up and down, because people with disabilities are always adapting. That's one thing that we think, oh, were you afraid to try something that wasn't made for you? Well, that's basically my whole life. So you end up kind of adapting as you go all the time, and it's just a way you think. So I introduced my mom to the idea of orchestra, and then the next year, in order to join, you had to take a music listening test. And I was the only student that year that got a perfect score, and I'm not like that proud of it, that's not why I'm telling you right now, but I think the reason that the teacher was willing to work with me is she could see that I was probably gonna do well at it, and that I would enjoy it, because I was musical. And so even though she had never adapted an instrument for someone before, because she was just a regular public school music teacher, right? She said, I really want to try to help you figure this out. So together we experimented. I tried the cello, it was too big. The little violins, even the teeny tiny ones for like 3-year-olds, were too long for my arms, but that violin method of playing up and down like a cello worked. And so I have been doing that ever since I was 10. And so I did orchestra all the way through school, got into folk music and Celtic music in college, and then eventually, because of Alan's Farhafter that we had alone, I was introduced to looping pedals, and that's when creatively, my music started to shift into like songwriting, and certainly not expecting to win. I mean, like not even in the realm of my brain. And so when that happened, it was a really big surprise and a big opportunity to try to travel with music and do things out of the state, because I'd never really performed outside of Minnesota before then. And when my husband and I started touring, that's when I started realizing how inaccessible the music industry is. Like, I sure knew that it was inaccessible in my own town. Like, many of the venues, I had to be lifted on stage with my giant wheelchair, and it was not easy to do, but it was something that I kind of thought was reserved for small towns in northern Minnesota. And then we started traveling and realizing that access was an issue in every city that we visited. Like, even New York City, like everywhere had a lot of barriers. And so I started getting passionate about accessibility in the arts. And it brought me to this place where eventually I started meeting other disabled artists, and we decided to do something about it. We knew that we wanted to see the music industry start addressing this big gap in access. It's not just for physical venues, like online software for recording is often extremely inaccessible for blind artists, for example. So there's many different ways that the industry, hasn't worked to make itself inclusive, and so it's not just my experiences, but there's a lot of other kinds of ways that we haven't really addressed, right? So we started RAMP, Recording Artists and Music Professionals with Disabilities. The founder, her name is Lachi. She's a black blind EDM artist from New York City, and I am the co-founder, so I kind of wanted to support the work that she had envisioned. And what's cool about RAMP is that I didn't realize that I was never really alone. I was feeling very isolated, trying to navigate every show, and for example, getting a ramp in the ASL is not something that happens necessarily at this point at every event at Carleton, although hopefully that will be taken on. That's my sneak attack approach, right? So, it's a thing that is a little extra work and you feel isolated. And so in RAMP, I started to realize that there are many other artists. There's 60 members with professional artists, which means we do music for our living. There's 60 of us now, and we grow every year. I think we're letting in a few new people every month. And so I realized that there's a bunch of us, and that one thing we all got really excited about, which is what I want to talk to you about today, is this concept of disability culture. So we can all agree, I hope, I think, that diversity is an important thing, and that your identity, whatever diverse identity, or whatever identity period, because I'm a very universal person, where you come from, what body you live in, what history you have, what economic background you have, all of these things shape the kind of music that you make, the kind of art that you create, the kind of writing that you do. Like, your identity shapes the work that you put into the world. And if we want to accept the idea that a diverse world that is more, that you hear more voices, see more perspectives, honor more ways of living, if that world is the world we're looking at, we can't leave disability out of the picture. So we believe in RAMP that disability is a form of diversity. It's not a medical, there is a medical component obviously to my disability, but a lot of disability stems from just the way you move in the world because of the body and the mind that you inhabit. There's nothing inherently positive or negative about disability, the same way there's nothing inherently positive or negative about any other form of diversity. It just is diversity. And so for us, we wanted to create art from a place that celebrates this unique perspective, but we were starting from ground zero in the form of art. What I mean by that is publicly. I think there's always been disabled artists as long as art has been around. Disabled people have been making it, but we don't have a lot of framework in our culture that gives us a place to feel belonging. And so we created a definition of disability culture. And I'm going to read that word for you here, just so that you can hear what we think about when we think of disability. Because something that we acknowledge as a group is that often people on the outside who are not disabled look at our lives through a lens of either pity or, oh man, I'm not like them, or disdain, or whatever the word is. It's not they don't look at us and think, wow, their lives are positive, right? And we want to change that. There's a big gap between how we're viewed and how we view ourselves. And disability culture is the way that we want to change, reduce that gap. So I'm going to read the definition for you now. It says, disability culture is a celebration of people who identify as disabled. It acknowledges the vast diversity of disability and the experience of being disabled, and it also acknowledges every person's inherent and equal worth. It is unapologetic, creative, innovative, adaptable, imaginative, and rooted in problem solving. It is based on the premise that disability needs to be seen, respected, included, and celebrated. It includes our worldviews, our perspectives, our contributions, our words, and our music. Disability culture, at least in part, is a vibrant and thriving counter-response to the exclusion, marginalization, and oppression that historically and currently is experienced by many people with disabilities. So that the idea that we can create a whole new culture that celebrates the unique things that disabled people bring to the table and the unique art that we create because of who we are, that's what gets us really excited. And we are excited about it. But the thing that I want to share with you is, in order for the rest of society to also be able to celebrate disability culture, there are two things that need to happen first. So it's one thing to say, well, yes, I celebrate disability culture. I think everybody has inherent value, and I think disabled people can bring something to the table. That's one thing to say it, but if I'm not able to get into the room, right? If there's no access, then how can we really celebrate disability culture? If I'm never invited to the table because there's no inclusion, then how can we celebrate disability culture? So I want to talk first, just real quickly, about accessibility and inclusion that can bring us to this place of celebrating disability culture. So the mission of RAMPS is worded this way. It is worded to advocate for accessibility, promote inclusion, and celebrate disability culture. So advocating for accessibility, there's a few basic things that anyone can do. So usually when I give talks right now, it's been mostly to specific music organizations, but this is for everybody. I really believe that accessibility is something that you, even in a dorm room, can be thinking about, right? It doesn't have to be just big top-level organizations changing things. Accessibility is like many layers. The first one is buildings. So if you're having an event, and I'm literally talking about you're throwing a birthday party or you are planning a conference, like it doesn't matter. You really need to think about where is this place someone can get to if they have a disability. Like that in 2023, it's just unfortunately not an acceptable thing to say, oh, I didn't realize there were 5 stairs. Like, you know, unfortunately, that's where we are at, is that it still happens a lot, but if you know, then you can start to be more mindful. Where am I planning this party? If somebody, you know, in a wheelchair wanted to come, would they be able to get in? And I don't have every answer on accessibility. I'm not like a like a consultant or a guidelines person. So a lot of it has to do with if you know people with disabilities and you actually want to see them and like get to know them and learn from them, you have to start asking them, what do you need? I'm going to plan a party. What would help make this work, right? So first of all, the building. But then online, there's a lot you can do. From a college student to like a multi-million-dollar company, it's all the same. There is a lot of exclusion online because people who are blind can't see the pictures or get the gifts or understand what the joke is if they can't see the image that you're sharing. And then deaf people can't understand it either if you don't have captions. And so even though it takes a little bit more work right now, because I don't think it will forever, I think we're getting better and better at figuring out how to automate this stuff in a way that's meaningful, not just like garbly. But for right now, if you want to be more inclusive and accessible, it's really important to think about the things you put out online, like your social media, alt text. How many of you know what alt text is? Okay, a few of you, that's good. But now you will all know. Alt text is a little image description. It doesn't have to take forever. If I was going to do alt text about this moment right now, I would say Gaelynn Lea's in a wheelchair on stage, and there are people in the audience in a big cathedral. And that's what I would say about describing the scene. It takes about 10, 15 extra seconds to type up an image description, but all of a sudden, not only is it just practically more accessible for people who are blind who rely on those, because their computer will read them, that image description, it is also a sign that you care. Like if a blind person hears, all of a sudden an image description pops up, like you thought about them and they know that. And that is what matters. Is there's a saying by these people that I really admire, Alice Wong, Mia Mingus, and Sandy Ho. They're 3 Asian American disability advocates, and they have this phrase that they created called access is love. Really, anytime you think about access, you are just being a more loving individual in the world. So like, don't think about access as like a checklist that I gotta get, even though there are components that you should think of, right? It's really about the way you bring yourself to the access work. And it's about being a more loving individual member of the community. So online access, captions are pretty easy to put in. They're getting easier. There's software I use, one called capwing.com. Just think about sharing captions, enabling captions whenever you can, just because, again, if somebody who reads them recognizes that you actually thought about it, it means a lot. I mean, the bar is very low. You can, like right now, anything you do for access is going to make people feel seen, right, and respected and cared for in their community. So that's another thing you can do. ASL and captions at live events. Now this isn't maybe so much for like your birthday party, but for any event like this, the reason I have an ASL interpreter is not necessarily that somebody requested it, it's because I feel like it's an important piece so that a deaf person could walk in to this event and feel welcomed without having to do a bunch of extra work to make sure that their needs are going to be met. A lot of part of disability that gets so tired is that you end up having to do extra stuff just to do what everybody else does every day. Like your work, your life is more work in some ways because the world's not set up for you to be able to get to the A to B. You're doing a lot more like physical and mental labor. And so to take that labor away and say, you know what, I'm just going to have a ASL at every event. It's like, why not? And I'm going to advertise it. So that's the next piece. In your policies, in your advertising, make sure you say, if you're going to make the extra effort to be accessible, make sure you're actually putting that out there so that people who are disabled can know, oh my gosh, I can go to this show because it's in an accessible space. You know, that's an important piece of information. Being flexible in your policies, right? Like, some people right now with disabilities, I am comfortable going out when people are wearing masks. Some people are still really locked down in the disability community because of COVID. So having online options is like a great way to just be flexible and make it more accessible because access is love. And then in your attitudes, you know, like it's a difficult thing to know if you are safe to share when you're frustrated or when something's not accessible. So just make it clear. In the same way that we want to be safe for anyone to say, you know what, that hurt my feelings, that wasn't an appropriate thing to say. Disabled people need to feel like they can express if something's not accessible. So just like be an ally. Just, you know, tell people that you're an ally. If there's ever anything you need, be an ally in the same way that I hope that you are doing for other minorities in this country. So about accessibility, I think the big thing is that you're not going to know everything. I mean, I don't know everything. Every event I plan, every play that I write, like I'm working on a play right now, and I'm learning from people in the disability community about how to make it more accessible. So I'm not expecting us to leave this room and suddenly get everything right. But what I am going to ask you to do, no matter if you're a student or like the dean of this school, right, is start asking disabled people if there's anything that you can do to make things more accessible, and then actually listen to the feedback, right? Because that's a big part of it, is we need to not just ask for input, but then implement, right? So I hope that that helps to think about accessibility. Think about it as access is love, and that it's all about just kind of looking at the things you're doing when you're inviting your friends, when you're planning an organizational event, when you're running your classroom, all of those things. Just kind of thinking through access piece by piece, and then really having a dialogue with the people who you're inviting so that they feel welcomed. The last thing, or the second to last thing, is promoting inclusion. So, as I said, it's one thing to have really cool culture going on, but if people aren't invited to the table, they can't share their culture, right? And so just thinking about ways that you can be more inclusive. So this could look different depending on your life. Like, you know, in some ways it just means learning about disabled people. And maybe you have never taken the time to like read about our history, read about the disability rights movement, watch the movie Crip Camp. Like, if you do nothing else, I will consider this speech a success. If you all go watch the movie Crip Camp, like, please just go watch it. How many of you have seen it already? A lot more of you need to see it. It's very good. I mean, I cried through like the whole thing, and it's not sad, don't worry. It was a special, like, happy cry. So, yeah, so invite people to the table though. Like, if you're in a position, maybe in 10 years you get out in the work world, you can hire people, start thinking about disability as a thing that is okay, that you can accommodate, that you can work with, that you can bring to the table. Start hiring disabled people. In the music industry, we always say, you know, is your lineup diverse? Like, do you have disabled people represented in this music festival? And if you don't, like, let us help you. Let us help you find someone. So there are places that even help people with disabled people for work. I mean, there's ways to get us at the table. A big part of it is just making sure that it's clear that your business or your organization or your club or whatever it is you run is a welcoming space. I mean, just putting that out into the universe, putting it on your job descriptions, all of those things are signals that it's a good idea to apply for this job because you're open to accommodating it and working with us. And then I think the biggest part about inclusion for me is it's one thing to have disabled people invited, which is great, and that's really necessary, but having disabled people in leadership, and this is probably more of like the top level college talk, is having disabled people in leadership needs to go all the way up because it's very difficult to make changes, to advocate for this accessibility we're talking about if disabled people can't get promoted to a place where they can actually help make these changes, right? And so consider the leadership of, for example, Carleton. Are there disabled people in leadership roles? Are they working on getting more disabled people in leadership roles? How many professors identify as disabled? Like, these things matter because change happens so much faster when we're allowed to give opinions and have authority to make changes. And so, in your own work, inclusion, wherever you end up, in whatever industry you go to, inclusion is something that's really, really important in the music industry and also in every facet of life. Because disabled people are in every single industry. And that brings me to the idea of celebrating culture. So, how many of you have heard of Judy Heumann? Raise your hand if you have. Oh, I'm glad I'm here. Okay, good. Judy Heumann, she just passed away in March. Gonna be emotional a little bit. Whoa, surprise. Anyways, she was basically the mother of the disability rights movement. So she, in the, I'll get over myself, sorry. I haven't talked about her on the stage yet. So she was the lady, if you've seen Crip Camp, that they kind of centered the story around. So she was just a kid who went to a camp for kids with disabilities, but she decided that she wanted to see things change. And so when she got out into the world, she created change, basically. She started stopping buses, because this was before buses were wheelchair accessible. This is before there were curb cuts. We owe a lot of stuff to this person that nobody knows about. So she would stop buses with her wheelchair. She would jam her chair into the bus, basically, so they couldn't move. And they stopped traffic in the middle of New York City to raise awareness about the lack of accessible transportation. And then they eventually decided that they needed to change the laws. So there was a bill, the Vocational Rehabilitation Act, in the 70s, and there was a little tiny addition called Section 504, which was a big deal. It was before the Americans with Disabilities Act, because it was in the 70s, that wasn't signed until 1990. So in the 70s, there was this little tiny section that said anything that receives public funding needs to be accessible. And it got stalled. Basically, they weren't signing it because they didn't want to make changes to anything that received public funding, because that would imply, for example, colleges didn't have to be accessible before the 70s, because it just wasn't required. So nobody could go to college, basically. So anyway, so they ended up being very frustrated, the disabled people that Judy worked with and knew and was organizing, very frustrated that this bill was languishing and not being signed because people didn't want to put in the money and the time to think about access in public spaces. So she had a sit-in in the federal building in San Francisco. It's called the 504 sit-in, and it's the longest sit-in of a federal building that has ever been done in the United States. But we are talking about 150 people with disabilities with massively varying needs. So people had the Black Panthers brought food, the churches and unions brought supplies, everybody got together to make sure that everybody would be safe in this building. But they sat for I think it was 26 days. It was a very, very long time. And finally they passed the 504. We wouldn't have the ADA if they hadn't passed the 504. We owe a lot to people like that. So when I say celebrate culture, how many of you have heard of the 504 sitting before today? Not enough of you, and you know why that is? We don't teach it in schools, which is so sad, because how cool is it that a bunch of people with disabilities took over a federal building for almost an entire month, and then had the Black Panthers bring them a bunch of food. I think that is one of the coolest stories in American history, and I didn't learn about it until I was 27. So it's a big deal that we don't talk about it. So when I say celebrate disability culture, I want youth to leave this room, not right now, I'm done with my music, and just take some time to look up the history of disability rights. It's really started is like just realize if you feel there's a gap in your knowledge, which there almost certainly is, and it's not your fault yet. Like, at this point, we haven't done anything in our culture to celebrate disabled people, so I can't be mad at you personally for not knowing, but now that you know that there's a gap, do something about it, right? So, celebrating disability culture might seem like, oh, well, why do I need to do that? I'm not disabled, but first of all, it could be tomorrow if I get hit by a car. And second of all, the reality is that disability makes the world, if we accommodate disability, if we include disability, if we celebrate disability, it actually means that everybody with a body that's different in any way or changes throughout their life with anyone with a body is more welcomed. Like, it's just more welcoming for everyone to have a world that's welcoming for disability. So disability culture starts with disability, but it ends in a world that's just a lot healthier and cooler and more inclusive and more welcoming. So I would encourage you to take some time to think about what you know or don't know about disability culture, what you can do to learn about it, and then how can you amplify it in any walk of life that you go from this space in the next 10, 15, 20 years. Like, make a point to include it when you think about diversity, when you think about amplifying people who have been oppressed or marginalized. Consider disability. We're in every race, we're in every sexual orientation, gender, and we're everywhere. We're in every economic group. Disability is everywhere. So just take some time to think about how you can include it in your worldview as well. So I'm just really glad to be here. I hope you look up Judy Heumann, the 504 sitting, go watch Crip Camp, go look at Rent. There's a lot of cool places and a lot of cool things that we are doing. So I just want you to consider how you can start working that into your life in the future, and you will not regret it. So thank you so much for having me. Thank you. So, Samantha's phone call. She's sending me I know he loves it when I introduce him on stage. I am going to play a few songs for you, probably two maybe, and then we'll do a little Q&A, if that's all right. So the first one I'm going to do, I wanted to do my disability culture theme song. So really, I'm just a sappy folk songwriter, so like, a lot of my songs are about love and normal folk music things, but I have a couple songs where I was thinking of disability specifically when I wrote them. This one is called I Wait. This is about, I think it's like 2018 or whatever it was, the last time they were debating Medicaid, time before this time. And John McCain famously put his thumb down and saved Medicaid. At that point, I was very frustrated because I felt that disabled people were not being mentioned in the articles of who would be affected if we destroy Medicaid. And it's like a lot of people with disabilities can't get personal care at home or live at home at all if they don't have Medicaid, because that's what pays for them. Medicaid pays for my wheelchair, and then it pays for life-saving medications. It's very, very, very important for disabled people to have access to health care. So I wrote this song called I Wait when I was very frustrated about just the lack of inclusion that we were having in this discussion. Luckily, after that, some very cool, not because of my son, but just coincidentally, some very cool activists who are disabled got arrested in their senators' offices, and so then they finally started covering disability when they were talking about it. But this song is called I Wait. It's on my album, Learning How to Stay. Do you want to try it again? Anyone want another go? Okay. and sing some nodding heads. Let's try it again. Bird, why do you sing? Fate has hurt your wings. Cool. So you are going to start with me. You're going to keep going all the way through the song, no matter what I do, and then it'll be very obvious when the song is over. Don't stop singing. You feel ready for this? Okay, cool. It's a little early in the morning to be doing this so much. That feels so nice.
Thank you, Gaelynn, for being here. That was absolutely wonderful. As promised, we will have Q&A in a couple minutes. I just have a couple announcements that I need to make. After Convocation, we typically have a luncheon. Today it's going to be a little different. It's more of a reception with still tasty food. So we have lots of room at the table, and there won't actually be a table this time. So if anyone is interested, please see me afterwards, and they'll be happy to accommodate you. Other things, this program, if you have questions about the Convocation program, we have lots of visitors here for admitted students experience. Welcome. If you'd like to be part of or know more about the Convocation program, please visit the Carleton College Convocation website. Podcasts are coming, so stay tuned for those. And we also want to mention that our Zoom is a little broken right now, so it is working, but my apologies to everybody in Zoom land. It sounds like that it was maybe not the best experience this time around, so my apologies. We are working on repairing our system here. So if you are still on Zoom or you'd like to participate in the Q&A, please send a message in the chat. My coworker will send it via message to me, and we will now begin, if that's okay with you, the Q&A. All right, who would like to start us off with a question? Here we go.
Hi, so first I just want to say thank you. I've been a big fan for many, many years now. And I was wondering if you could talk about how and if you've seen access change through your career as a touring musician. And then if you think like your visibility and notoriety affects the experience you receive versus somebody who maybe doesn't have that in touring.
Thank you for asking. That's a really good question. So it's kind of a two-parter. My experience with access has changed in some ways, but also still have my standards for access. So when I started touring, right after the Tiny Desk, I mean literally in bright red letters on my stage plan it says Gaelynn is in an electric wheelchair. She needs to run to the stage and please contact us ASAP if there's going to be a problem with that. And nobody ever contacted me, but nobody ever built a ramp either. So like, I was being lifted onto the stage a lot, and a lot of the venues, I never even really think about green rooms because it's just not a reality for most spaces. Bathrooms, I would end up being in like the public bathroom, getting my makeup on and eating beef jerky right before a show, and that happened a lot. But then I met an artist, her name is Gaelynn Lea, she's in the hip hop group Wheelchair Sports Camp. There's another artist that she really looked up. She's actually not in ramps because she hates computers, but I'm going to make her join eventually. But she was saying that her fans got mad at her once because she played in an inaccessible venue for South by Southwest. And this is early it was like 2017, maybe 2018 early. And I was like, well, but I mean, you didn't pick the venue, South by Southwest gave it to you. And she's like, yeah, but I understand it. I'm an advocate. If they can't get into the door, they have the right to be mad about it. And I thought about it a lot, and after that I started thinking, man, like I could gotta stop playing at venues that are inaccessible. So I decided that was gonna be my new thing. And it's, not gonna lie, I don't know what, I'm pretty sure it would be foolish of me to say that having, national exposure doesn't do anything, but honestly, a lot of it came down to me just saying, I'm not going to play at inaccessible spaces, so hey venue, can you accommodate this or not? And some venues still say no, right? And so then I have to look around. So the biggest barrier for any disabled artist at any level is there's just not a lot of spaces that are really accessible. So I also started saying that if you want to ramp to the stage and playing on the floor, it's varying in success. Like some venues are like, great, play on the floor then. And some of them make it really cute, and really cute stage in the front, and some are just clearly not doing anything to try to accommodate. And then some venues are amazing, like we get a ramp like this one, or I have a venue that didn't even tell me. They did a fundraiser 2 months earlier to raise money to get an accessible stage lift. I mean, so it's all over the map. Some venues build ramps and then take them down the next day. I try to talk them into like keeping them up forever, but it's a really wide range. And I think my message is you've got to do it in your own time and your own journey. Like I didn't start refusing to play in accessible venues. I had several years of why am I doing this? I guess the thing that the straw that broke, well that's a terrible analogy. The thing that made me change my mind is there was a venue I played at that got a ramp the first time, and then the second time they said, well that was kind of expensive, we thought we would just lift your chair up. And the reality, it kind of sunk in that day that if I didn't draw a line in the sand, it wasn't going to happen. Basically that changed you have to be the change, and it sounds very cheesy, but I really think it's important for us to be the change in whatever way we can in the moment. Like, I'm not expecting every artist to do exactly what I do, but I do think we have more power than we think in terms of what we choose to say yes to. And that's kind of my answer. I mean, I play a lot of weird venues. I play a lot of yoga studios and churches and community centers because I can't find regular venues, but I'm okay with that because it sends a pretty strong message. My platform helps, I think, to get the message out there, but I do believe that any artist could do it, that you will be preparing yourself for, I mean, it's not the funnest choice, but I think it's the necessary choice because my goal, and I know I'm talking a lot, sorry, my goal is that the next generation of artists will not have to do all this work. Like, and I don't think we're going to get there though unless we, in this generation, you know, tie ourselves to the bus metaphor. If that makes any sense. Okay, cool. That's my answer. Thank you.
I'm a trombonist with a condition called hydrocephalus, where there's an imbalance of cerebrospinal fluid. And so as another disabled musician, I'm curious to know, when you meet new people, do you feel pressure to have to explain your condition?
Oh, that's a good question. You know, let me think about that. I don't know. I guess my condition is very, very visible, right? So I feel like it's not something that I can choose to disclose. It kind of discloses itself all the time, you know? And so I kind of choose how much I want to share, right? Like, somebody will ask me a question and I choose the length of the answer. And most of the time people are okay with that, like they'll accept that. But there was one, for example, I'll give you an example. It was an interview for a newspaper, and the lady just was only interested in talking about disability. I was here to play shows, right? And at some point we actually want to talk about that part of it too, right? So she was asking questions, so I was like, you know, I guess I kind of like to talk about like the concerts. And she's like, but how much did you weigh when you were born? And I was like, that's just not relevant. I'm not going to tell you. Like, so I understand. Like, I think the big thing is to recognize, again, most people in this room had never heard of Judy Human. Like, we have not done a good job with disability education, so I try to recognize that most times when people ask inappropriate questions or want your whole medical history, it's coming not out of a terrible heart space, but it is still ignorant, so I don't have to give them answers when I don't want to. So I encourage, I mean, it's always going to be a little awkward. Right now, like, this is where we are with the music industry, with disability awareness. We're in this awkward phase where we're demanding change, but people's heads haven't caught up with us yet, so it's probably going to always be, in this generation, a little bit rubbing up against things that suck. And you just kind of have to navigate it, but then try to put yourself in the mind frame of, if I do this, the next generation won't have to, right? So choose how much you want to disclose and never feel pressure to give information that you don't feel like giving. And it's okay if it's different on a daily basis. Like, that's the other thing. Some days I see little kids staring at me, and I'll like talk to them, and then basically you just ask, here's the secret. You ask a kid one question about themselves, and then you don't have to answer anymore. So, I do that a lot. But some days, if a kid's staring, I just don't have the energy, and I just kind of pretend like I don't notice that the kid is staring. And I'm okay with that, because I think you just kind of live in your own body and do it as much as you can, but recognize that you don't owe it to everybody to explain everything either. So, hope that helps a little bit.
We have time for one more question, Gaelynn. Is that okay?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Hi everybody, my name is Sarah and I'm the director of the museum here. First off, I just wanted to say thank you so much for your talk today. It was really meaningful. And I have less of a question and more of a response, I suppose. One thing, in winter term next year, we're going to have a show at the museum where we're hosting 2 artists who identify as disabled and chronically ill and make work around the era of disability justice. So we're going to be kind of continuing this conversation with two artists based in New York. One is Ezra Venice, and the other Shannon Finnegan. And Finnegan actually went to Carleton College and has an experience of being here on campus and identifying as a disabled student. So I hope that was really helpful to everybody who's on campus. We also work with faculty members around our exhibitions. But then the other thing I'm going to do is just share a few practices that have really helped me as somebody who doesn't identify as disabled but works a lot with artists who do. So one is accessibility writers, right? And I know these kinds of writers as being a writer is coming from the music industry. We have this cultural conception of them where maybe you want like 12,000 green Skittles leaving your dressing room as a musician when you show up, but they can be used in really creative and useful ways. So I now ask artists to provide an accessibility, if they provide accessibility writers, and there can be things in those writers like, when you book my accommodation, I need a tub because my body needs hydrotherapy, things like that. Or yes, there needs to be a ramp. And what I find really useful about these kinds of contracts is that it's all in writing. I'm not asking the artists to repeat what their needs are all the time and continuously advocate for themselves. So this is a practice that's also outlined in a resource guide written by an artist named Gaelynn Lea. And you can find it online if you Google accessibility in arts, a practice and a promise. There's lots of great resources in there, and I think that we're in this really exciting moment where we're having conversations like this one more and more. And Carleton is a really great place to have this conversation. So, anyways, thank you again. Really glad to have you here, and thank you for sharing.
Thanks for having me.
But I do want to say, would you like to make a concluding comment of any sort before we conclude?
No, just please go forth and learn some stuff that you might not know. And that my work is